What is up? Welcome to the Perfectly Blended Podcast, Season 4, Episode 18. Today we're going to be talking about blended family holiday traditions, and that's coming up
right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Perfectly Blended Podcast. This podcast is for blended families, for couples that want to strengthen their marriage and want a brighter future. Perfectly Blended exists to break the stigma of divorce, drop the shame and guilt holding you back, and equip marriages to thrive instead of just survive. We believe all that is possible in this life is based on the power of Jesus Christ and His ability to restore us fully. Let's dive in. If you're joining us and you're watching this, do not get jealous of my wife's attire tonight.
Yeah.
She brought it today, people. She got a Christmas tree on her head as a headband. She is rocking out the llama sweater.
Yeah.
She's got a Christmas mug full of hot chocolate that she is tearing up. And she put what is that thing behind us? A reindeer?
Moose.
It's a moose. Okay. Well, it's a Canadian reindeer. So, she no shame in her game. Yeah, you said it, Stacy. Yeah, so lots of fun, right? So we got Christmas coming up, right? And it's funny because we haven't done anything Christmas related yet this month with our podcast. So I usually leave that up to Christy, so we're going to give her the blame for that. No. So tonight we are, right? We want to talk about some stuff that really is Christmas related that has everything to do with blended families. So do you have anything you want to talk about first? Anything you want to have on your chest you want to get off?
No.
No?
Except for that Christmas is awesome. And this year it doesn't really feel as Christmassy to me for some reason. I don't know. It's because it's been so unusually warm in Michigan.
It has.
That, it just snowed like for the first time a couple days ago, but it was like 60 degrees just like 3 days ago. And I don't know if it's because it seems like everybody has been so busy this year. And then, of course, the mean, stupid COVID is like rearing its ugly head again. And all the freaker-outers are starting to freak out again about it. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem as Christmassy. It may be, because we have so many kids now that are like out of school. We only have one left in school. So, it's maybe that's it too. We're transitioning into a different period of our lives, but
it does have a different feel this year because of that. I think
I have to keep fighting the good fight to bring it back around. Okay. Yeah. Well, we went and did cut down our Christmas tree, our real one.
The real one. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And I got presents wrapped a couple weeks ago. All the presents were wrapped in under the trees. So I was ahead of that. But we've just been unusually busier even than normal because usually during December, as soon as December 1st hits, I am pretty much like every day, all other responsibilities for those 4 weeks are thrown out the window. I come home and I want to turn on Christmas movies, drink hot chocolate, and have a fire in the fireplace. And it has been unusually warm, but I haven't done it as much as I normally do. I've only probably had like 3 or 4 days so far this month that I've really been able to sit down and watch like a movie here or there. And that really is disappointing to me. It is. It
is a weird thing too, because my daughter has a birthday in December. Actually, today is her birthday. She's 25.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Jordan.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Jordan. And so, there's always that mix too, where it's just one more thing that we have going on this month, which I always feel bad for her because what a horrible thing to have as your birthday towards Christmas, in that
Last
month.
Saturday we had a birthday party.
I understand.
For her.
But it still deducts from it's not like me, September, nobody has my birthday in September but me. You have to share your birthday with Graydon.
Yeah, but he's my kid, so you don't think.
No,
really
I know, but I'm just saying. So,
and they're next month. So Graydon's birthday is next month. My birthday is next month.
No, you're gonna be 28. She looks 28.
I'm only 3 years older than my stepdaughter.
That's right. I married young people. Cassie has 2 kids in December. Yeah, so that's a busy time. Like this month really has been busy, but we've had a lot other going on too. Plus,
it's sucked eggs though. So
it has not sucked eggs.
I haven't been able to watch my movies.
She smirked. If you can see this, she had a small smirk when I said that. Plus, in 19 days we leave for vacation, so we do have a lot going on right now. What is that supposed to be?
About flying.
We're not even talking about flying. We're just talking about vacationing. We're talking about being on the water, okay? Because we're going on a cruise.
Cassie did say she makes it a point to separate them, so that's good.
That is really, really awesome. Who else was telling us that? Who was telling us? Just recently, somebody we were talking to, and they were saying that they try to make sure that they celebrate their child's birthday.
Well, my friend Teresa Williamson, Heidi's birthday is today.
Yep.
And then our friend Carrie Nealis, her daughter's birthday was yesterday, Haley's.
Yes.
So,
That's
I mean,
rough, man.
we know a lot of people that have kids' birthdays that are in this month.
Yeah, it's in the month of December.
Yeah.
It has been really unseasonably warm for us. So it's been crazy here. It's like there was like last week there was in the 60s, which is super strange, but
God's preparing us for when we move. And we realized that it's perfectly acceptable to us.
That's right.
Like everybody that we've been saying like in the next 4 or 5 years that we want to move, people are like, aren't you guys going to like miss the snow and stuff? And we say no, but you really don't know.
No.
Until you're in it. No. And now this year it's been like 60 degrees and we're walking around and we're looking at all the Christmas decorations and he's like, I could so totally do this. I'm like, me too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Wear a wife beater and shorts and
oh my gosh.
Go out and check out the Christmas lights. I would decorate a palm tree in a heartbeat and have zero qualms with that. Okay, so on this episode today, we really want to talk about blended family traditions, right? Holiday traditions. It's a weird thing this time of year. And when it comes to doing different types of traditions and stuff, especially if you're newly blended, or maybe you've been blended for a little while now and you're still trying to work some of these things out. So we really want to kind of bring some light to a few things that we feel has been important focus for us, that's been successful for us, that's really worked for us in the last 11 years. So number one, we're going to kick it off with number uno.
Wow, that's so cute.
I did that just for you.
That's new.
Start new traditions.
I didn't know he was going to do that. That like is so
You
awesome.
got a big smile on your face. Yeah, you like that. Huh?
I love that.
Simple things, I know. I figured I'd add a little something to it.
Yeah, you could have had Christmas lights stream across the screen.
I could have done that.
That's awesome.
It's a lot more work. Start new traditions.
Yeah, so Josh and I we talked about this last year on our podcast too. So our last year's podcast, our game was much better last year, I can tell you that, because all 4 Tuesdays in the month of December, we did something relating to Christmas. And I went back tonight and looked at them, and we wore Christmas sweaters or Christmas attire for each one of those. Yeah, but this is one.
We did it for real 4. Meaningful this time.
We did it for 4. I know I didn't have the headband last year, so yes.
Yeah, you're bringing it.
But we did start a lot of new traditions when Josh and I first got together, and some of them have transitioned over time as our kids have gotten older.
Yep.
So when we first got together, we had a white Christmas tree. I know that was new for a lot of us, and we decorated it together. That was a new tradition. We went and took the kids and got all of them new stockings together, so it was like something new for our family. And then over the years, it transitioned into we started hiding one of their presents and doing a scavenger hunt, and that has never died off.
I don't think it ever will. These kids are going to be 60 and still want us to do that.
Yeah, our kids, and that was his idea. My husband's a very creative person. And we started it one year, we were in Lionsgate. So it was like
7-8 years ago.
9.
Oh, maybe 9?
Yeah. Because we've been here for 8.
Oh, that's true.
And we did it for a couple years in Lionsgate. So it had to be 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And they absolutely love it. They look forward to it. And their first clue is in their stocking, and then it leads them to another clue. It leads them to another clue. It leads them to their present. So one present is always hidden. We started a few years back, like 5 or 6 years back, getting a live Christmas tree.
Real one.
Our live one. Yeah, real one. Whatever.
And it's breathing. It's a breathing tree.
It is breathing.
It is.
So that was something new that we started. But one of my favorite things is that all the kids a few years back, it was a while longer than a few, probably around the time we started hiding presents, maybe even a year or 2 before, where each of them, instead of like putting names on their presents, each of them picked out their own wrapping paper. So then all of their presents are wrapped under the tree in their own wrapping paper, so they know which ones are theirs.
And you don't have to put their names on them that way, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
I actually like that we do that.
Yeah.
Or that you do that. Let's be honest. I wrap none of those.
Yeah.
I do 0 of those. What Cassie say? We did real, and it was the best decision to get a fake.
Oh, we have 2.
Oh, a pre-lit tree. Yeah, to get a pre-lit. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have 2 trees.
Yeah, my wife has to have 2. One in our main living room, the little fake one, little smaller fake one, and then the big one is in our front room, which is where we have all
the little one is 6 feet or 5 feet.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's not too little, but it's little
smaller
compared to our other one.
Yeah, it's smaller.
Yeah, and it's perfect. I got it off Amazon for like $40. So, and it's a super cute little tree.
Yeah.
But, and then something else that we did too is we were going to Bronner's for a few years back, and I'll touch on this more, that specific one on point 2. But we started going to Bronner's and having them each. A lot of that's known around the world.
Doesn't mean everybody knows what it is.
Well, if you don't know what it is, you need to look it up. It's the biggest Christmas store in the world.
It is massive, too.
People travel from everywhere to come visit Bronner's in Frankenmuth, Michigan. It is something good about Michigan, and it is amazing. We only live like 40 minutes away from it.
Yep.
And we used to go every year and have the kids, we still go, but have the kids each pick out an ornament. It used to be a lot of fun, taking the whole family to that. So we had started actually a lot of new traditions. Last year I can start that with the flexible one. I'll do that at point 2.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that you understand, like, when you do get into a blended family, a lot of times we bring traditions that we're used to doing in our previous families, right? Or even as we grew up. But I believe that it's super important that we start new traditions that's family specific, right? Like Christy and I wanted to start traditions that were really very specific to just our family unit. Very, very specific and unique. That's different from the rest. And we did. Like growing up, we do things now that I never did growing up, that she never did growing up, and that we didn't do in our past relationships.
I was looking if I got presents.
What? Yeah, right. And it's really important though that you pick out things that you can do together. And sometimes your kids are gonna, kind of grind their teeth and go through it. I mean, did you purposely not mention the movie thing?
No, I forgot about that.
So every year,
I'll touch on that on point 2.
Every year up until this year, Christy would always. This is a sore topic, but let's talk about it, right? So let's talk about it. So let me get this out. So the whole point I was even bringing this up is that every year, Christy is the only female left in the house, right? Since my daughter got married and moved out.
And she's 6 years older than all the other kids.
She is. She's much older, but the rest is just 3 boys and then myself. And so, we always try to make Christmas about Christy because Christy is the only female and she loves Christmas time. And it's not that we don't like it, but she likes to do a lot of girl things that us guys were like, hey, we love you, we'll do it. Well, at least I am. The boys are a little bit harder cases than that. So over the last, 4 or 5 years, she used to have us go to the free showing of a Christmas movie at the local theater. And she loved doing it. Unfortunately, most of those shows were done at like 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, which the boys were like super upset about it. They didn't want to do it, but they did it. And then up until this year, it was like it ended up getting kiboshed. It ended up being bad. So it ended up being nobody wanted to go. Everybody argued about it. My son was away to school. He didn't want to drive back, which is only an hour. And he ended up coming home anyway, which was more like salt in the wound anyway on that.
Karma.
And so, so that's a tradition too, but that really is going to go more towards point number 2. But that's another tradition that we started that really was really important to Christy. So us boys, we wanted to make sure that we honored her by doing those things.
We're doing it next year.
And a tradition that's coming back next year. So we didn't do it this year. It will be next year.
I'm mad about it.
Next year. Let's move on to number 2 because this is the time she gets to share about all the things she's mad about. Okay, here we go. Number 2, plan ahead, but be flexible.
Yes.
Dear?
Yeah. So we talked about this last year on our podcast. So last year was the first year that Josh and I went to Bronner's by ourselves, and it actually was glorious.
It was nice.
Because the 2 years prior to that, the boys had pretty much not wanted to go anymore. So in 2019 and 2019, it was really bad. Like just so bad. And it completely ruined my experience.
Because of their attitudes.
Yeah, I was almost in tears the entire time we were there.
Yeah.
So after praying about it And I do feel good about this decision. Now I'm like, I can't force them to continue to do everything because they're just not into it anymore, So I had told him last year that we could just go to Bronner's by ourselves and we could get each of the kids an ornament, pick it out for them, and then I'd put it in our stocking as a stocking stuffer. And so we did that last year. And then this year, it actually was really fun because Jordan, his daughter, and her husband made it a point to meet us out there. And Jordan, because she's a girl, is like, this could be our tradition now every year is us four meet at Bronner's. We could go out to dinner and then we can pick out ornaments, which is awesome. And that's the part about being flexible is that part like, okay, it doesn't have to be like a whole family thing. And we can still like, even if it was just him and I going, it could still be a tradition that we do. And this year I did pick out ornaments for all the kids and they are in their stockings. So, and it was a lot of fun this year to do that. And I'm not miserable. People aren't ruining my time. I don't want to like kill children or leave them on the side of the road on the way home, you know? And
me neither.
Right. Because then he gets mad because I'm mad, everything. Yeah. But then one of the other traditions, like he said, was the movies. So the reason why little Josh didn't want to drive home is because he had came home the weekend prior for something. I don't even remember what it was. He had to. It was a birthday party. I think it was for a niece, one of your nieces. It was a birthday party. And then he was going to skip a weekend and then be home last weekend for his sister's birthday party. And then he would have been home, So it was last weekend and I'm like, no. So NCG Trillium only shows usually the free movies 3 different weekends before leading up to Christmas. And they don't change times. It's like on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's at 11 a.m. now this year. So one weekend it was Polar Express and the boys have made it abundantly clear because all the years prior to that, it was only Polar Express was the only free movie. And they were like, we never want to see Polar Express again. So this year it had Polar Express one weekend. Elf. It had Elf one weekend, and then it had The Grinch with Jim Carrey one weekend. And every single day, every single weekend, it was on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, only at 11 o'clock. And it's free. You just show up, first come, first serve, and you get to get in. And I really wanted to go because this was the first year in a few years that they had not just the Polar Express. And I wanted to go see The Grinch. And yeah, it ended up being kiboshed because everybody was just throwing such a fit about it. So we didn't go. And I was pretty upset about it, actually, because it's not that big a deal. It's not allowed to ask,
It's not. But that's the whole point is we can plan ahead and we should plan ahead because things can change. And these are just things that we've noticed that's changed as
kids have gotten older.
Kids have gotten older. But this is the deal. Like the children's other side have forced us to be flexible in the past. We've had many times where kids are like not being dropped off in time. I remember one Christmas Eve, the kids were supposed to spend with me, right? You remember. And their grandma picked them up and said, we just want to take them to the Christmas church service. We'll bring them right back. Oh, they didn't get home until like 11 p.m. And they were much smaller. And I'm like, okay, that's my whole Christmas Eve. Like that's everything. And so it's like, it doesn't do any good to get angry. It's not my kids' fault. They feel bad. But the point is we had a lot of traditions that we had set up for that evening. We didn't get to do any of them. They showed up home. The food was cold. Like they couldn't eat it. And it was just really sad. Well, but we have to learn how to be flexible in those moments. Like we have to. We have to make the best of it.
Well, we flipped on. The reason why he's saying that is because we used to, up until about 4 years ago, we used to do one Christmas Eve.
Don't say that because that's the third point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So don't say that yet.
Well, that's being flexible, though. Like, the reason why he brought it up is because one Christmas Eve, they were with one and the other. So it was our year to have them. And then the following year, we wouldn't have had them. So that's why he brought that up, though, why we were so mad. Because it's not like we got them every single Christmas Eve.
No, but we have things set in stone that we like to do, right? We all do. Like we have specific things that we do. Even in the mornings of Christmas, it's like, okay, now we got to like let my kids go over to their mom/grandmas to go do things because their grandma mainly did things and their mom just went over there for my kids, but they would never come back on time or they would never show up on time. So my family's waiting around. Our family's waiting around. Her kids are trying to show up at the same time, right? And if you have kids and you've been part of a blended family, you understand the struggle. This is the deal, though. When we start to get super upset, all it does is put the kids in the middle. They're already upset about it. They don't want to do all this stuff. They're just trying to enjoy. So we have to try and plan the best we can ahead of time. But at the same time, we have to understand flexibility is the only way that's going to make it work. Yes. Or it'll absolutely ruin the holiday. I mean, there was many times where my mom was getting upset because like, oh, why aren't the kids? Why don't we have the kids yet? You know, not just Christmas, but Thanksgiving, birthdays, everything. And it's like, I'm sorry. I only have so much control. You know, we have to learn how to be flexible. We've learned too that the more that we have things at our home, it was easier because we didn't have to wait to get the kids, to go get the kids and all of this stuff. Like it became, so we've gotten more flexible as the years go, and now it doesn't matter anymore. Our kids are all adults. So now we don't struggle with that at all. Now we have to be flexible because making the boys do things they don't want to do.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job though when they were being brought over late and things like that about like it sucks being in the middle of like your family and then waiting for your kids and your family is, you know, like getting upset, rightfully so, you know, no one's saying they can't get upset. It is like, and people wonder, unless you're in a blended family, you don't understand. People are wonder like, why don't you say something? Why don't you stand up for yourself? It actually just makes it worse, especially around the holidays for your kids and for you, because then you're spending all this energy just getting mad. And if they wanted to do it again in the future, they would. So it's really not going to make a difference. And like he said, it wasn't the kids' fault. So I do think we did a good job at keeping the family at bay. And
we did.
You know, still being happy when the kids got there. We were upset, you know, some years, but we were still happy about it. And we moved things around and changed things up. And that's how that also helped us start to come up with different traditions of our own because we had to be flexible. Like we started a tradition for ourselves, like on Christmas Eve. This will be the first year in a while.
Long while.
In a long while there, we had started a tradition that it was just us on Christmas Eve. And we can get to that for the create different traditions, but where we flexed, you know, and then it became a really good tradition for him and I. And now it isn't that big a deal, you know, because our kids are older and things like that.
Yeah, they're much older now. And it gave us an opportunity to really kind of look outside of our situation that it is. And it was really...
Find a silver lining.
When it really, in the beginning, it got to be super, super frustrating, almost bitter. And because it's like, no matter how good we tried to do, it was like the other parties were always fighting against us and always making it hard on us. And we always had to rise above and we always had to be the bigger party. But now we get to have these amazing conversations with our kids that they knew what was going on the whole time. And so I'm just so proud that we really just trusted in God in these situations and that we really tried everything in us. We weren't perfect, trust me. But overall, we kept our cool and we really pushed through, you know, and we really leaned on each other a lot. Like when nobody else was around, we really leaned into each other and, you know, yelled and screamed about it and got mad about it and, you know, got heated, but then we just let it go and moved on to the next time. So, you know, it's just really hard, but flexibility is part of rising above as a Christian, number one, but then being part of a blended family. So Cassie says,
Jesus and telling us to turn the other cheek.
Cassie says, is that not what the court systems are for? It is, but let's be honest, you know, and I was just talking about this the other day. The court system doesn't always understand every situation. And if you've ever had to deal directly with the courts, I mean, we used to have cops come to our house and we used to have cops go to my ex's house all the time. Nothing ever happened. Always go back to court. Nothing changed. And it's just, if someone has a frog up their rump at the time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And you drag it through and drag it through and drag it through. Sometimes it makes a difference. Most of the time, it just never did.
No, and
just never did.
That's the thing with court orders is a lot of people, if you haven't dealt with the court systems, like Josh was saying, you can have court orders in place all day long. If they're not abiding by the court orders, you actually have to take them back to court to file charges against them that they aren't following the court orders. So yeah, you could do it, but then you are having to get a lawyer again and go back through court. You can't hand the cops a piece of paper. Cops will tell you, we're not here to uphold court orders. We're here to keep peace. So if they're not following a court order, we can try to go talk to them about it. But if they say no, you're just going to have to take them back to court. So a lot of times, in a lot of instances, it's not worth the time.
No, it's not. And we've talked to a couple just recently too that's dealing with a lot of this right now, and they have spent tons of money on attorneys and nothing's changing. So there's only so much that the court system can do. And I'm not saying you don't fight the battle, right? Fight the battle. Fight it to the extent that you feel that you have resources, number one, and that you feel is keeping your Christian core about it. Like you're not fighting it for the wrong reasons, you know? Is it still bringing value to your kids? Is this causing more tension with your family? You know, and we have to ask ourselves those things. And that's where flexibility does pay off with us in the long run. In the beginning, it's hard, but in the long run, it does help. She says we don't do cops, but we have went to court and had visits changed. Okay, and that's great because if you can get both parties to agree to things like that, that's where flexibility does pay off. That's what the struggle on going to court or not. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And it can be very, very expensive.
Well, and I wanted to say something really quick about that too. You know, I had a conversation with a friend a few weeks ago, and she's like, you know, I really want to take my ex back to court because he's not abiding by this and he's not abiding by that. And I just said, you know, no one's in your situation. So you really have to pray about it and think what God wants you to do. But you do need to make sure you're being honest with yourself. Are you doing it? How are the kids going to respond to you going back to court?
Yeah.
So are you doing it for your pride just because you want to win and be like, no, this is not right. I should get my kids this much and they should get the kids this much.
I deserve
this. I deserve that. And you're doing it just to prove a point because you want the kids more like they're a piece of property? Or is it putting them in the middle to where it's actually going to subject them to more psychological harm or not? And only you can answer that. I don't know. But that's where him and I decided, should we go back to court? Should we not go back to court? And during the holidays, especially, you don't want your kids' memories to look back and remember my parents just fought the entire time. Every time a holiday comes up, your kids will grow up to have anxiety when it starts to be coming Thanksgiving or Christmas, not look forward to it, possibly not celebrate it with their own kids because they hate it so much. Like it could go on and on, the ripple effect you could cause. And that's why I thought it was very important for us to talk about plan ahead, have plans with your family, but show them how to handle conflict when it comes up, especially during the holidays. Like what is the season really about? It's about Jesus and being flexible, and you can still make it fun when you do get your kids. You know, you still can make it fun and change it up and make it memories that will last.
And we are called to rise above. And I know that's hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and for us, it was getting the short end of the stick a lot of times. Yeah. And we did. We absolutely 1,000% did. But in the long run, I really feel like we honored God through many of the decisions that we made. And our kids today, like I said, we've had these conversations recently that they knew, they can tell. And they understand and they appreciate. And there's so much value in all of that.
We lost a lot of battles, but we won the war.
Booyah. Number 3, our final point for the night, is create different traditions when kids are not there.
Oh, aren't there? Yeah.
Yeah, when kids are not there or are there, right? We have one or the other. And it's different for every family because every family structure is different.
Yeah. We have, like we mentioned in point 2, where we would have one Christmas Eve would be our Christmas Eve that they spent with us, and the next Christmas Eve they would spend it with the ex. Well, we did that for 4 or 5 years, and then we realized that every year it was our year to have the kids on Christmas Eve. It never worked out, or we got them super late at night, or it was always a problem. And instead of focusing on it's our year to get them and da, 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 da. Instead, we sat back and thought about it for a minute. Like, okay, what if we just don't want to fight this battle anymore? What if we said every year the exes could get them on Christmas Eve? They have to be at our house by 10 a.m. and then we have them for the rest of the day.
On Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And we didn't present it that way to the exes. We presented it to, you know what? You guys can have them every year on Christmas Eve from here on out.
Yep.
And it worked out beautifully because then what Josh and I did is we could hide their presents in peace. We didn't have to have children in the house when we did it. We could have the full reign of the house, hide the presents anywhere, clues anywhere. It was awesome. Josh made us a super special dinner every year, prime rib, and it was great. It was so awesome. And then the kids got brought to our house at like 10:30. Sometimes they do come late. But then we would have our Christmas with them, have them open up their gifts, and then we would do Josh's family Christmas for the rest of the day.
And we had time for us.
And it worked out oh my gosh. It was like awesome. And the exes thought that they were winning. And they were, in essence, because they were getting what they wanted.
Yeah.
And we were winning. Yeah. And the kids were winning. They weren't put in the middle of anything. So it was like awesome.
Yeah, and that was a different type of tradition
yes.
we made. It wasn't just for the kids, it was for us.
Yeah.
And it became really special, when I became on staff at the church that I'm on staff right now. One of the things where they were discussing on whether they were going to make coming to church the evening of Christmas Eve mandatory.
For staff.
Yeah, for staff, right? For staff had to show up. And, I just said, I had to have a private conversation. I said, look, this isn't going to work for me, I will come to church 364 days a year, but there's a very special thing that my wife and I have as a tradition. And he understood. And eventually it was like, okay, I understand that, and because this became such a very important thing for us, because you understand, okay, I'm sure that a lot of times the dynamic of a blended family doesn't mean that sometimes all kids are gone and then sometimes all kids are there. It doesn't usually work like that. For us, it was almost Christy's kids were here almost all of the time, and my kids were here most of the time, 4 out of the 7 days a week. The thing is, though, the days that her kids were gone, my kids were there. So we never got any time for just us, right? Nothing. So not only do we focus everything around pouring into our children, right? We focus on our marriage, but we focus our marriage towards pouring into our kids. And then we serve in church and work and all these other things. So we found this day was amazing. Like it became an amazing pinnacle portion of our marriage. It was fun. We got alone time, bounce wow wow.
Oh my Lord.
And I got to cook an amazing meal, which I love to cook. And we got to just spend some special time together as a tradition, So really think about, outside of, we don't get, when it comes to the kids, but how can we add value to this situation and create a brand new tradition when the kids are not here? And it's not always easy to look at it that way. It took us years to do that.
Yeah, it took us, because we fought the fight for 4 or 5 years.
We did.
And then
bare knuckles, man. We were at it.
Yeah, this would have been probably the 5th year that we were like, you can just have the kids. But the kids now, like last year, it was a fight, like making them go to the other parent's house and spend the night.
Yeah.
And so we said last year, now we're having to be flexible.
Yeah.
We came to love and cherished this Christmas Eve night. And last year it was like, we ended up feeling guilty because we were like, you can't come home. You have to stay away. And they really didn't want to. And so
the tides have turned on them.
Yeah. So, and because they get to choose now because they're older, they can deal with their other parent by themselves.
Yeah.
And we don't have to fight that fight. So this year we decided we aren't going to, if they decide to, they decide to. We're not talking about it.
It's okay.
It's okay. They can, whatever.
It's okay. Instead, we're going on a 10-day vacation. So this solves that problem, right? So it all gets worked out. But the point is, though, we have to understand that, the things that we share, start new traditions. You have to have something brand new for your family. You have to be willing to plan ahead, but be flexible with those things. But also understand that these traditions can be planned differently the way that your kids are. Maybe not everybody gets your kids on the Christmas Eve when you used to, but maybe, or on Christmas mornings, or maybe these things are different now. But that's okay. Fight the fight good enough, but until it becomes an issue for your children. And then understand you can create brand new traditions, maybe for your spouse, because we have learned to understand that there's so much power in focusing on your marriage.
Yeah.
That it adds tons more value to your family. And so it's one of my favorite things that Christy and I were able to do. It's really, if I look back in the last 11 years, one of my favorite things because, we got matching pajamas. Like we went all out. Like we're
still going to wear them this year.
We will wear them. But we found that, it was just a real special thing for us. Extremely special. It's one of my favorite traditions.
Oh, so a new tradition that we started last year, though, is I got, including little Josh's girlfriend, too, is on Christmas Eve morning.
Socks. I was wondering where you were going with this.
He said it loud. We go to my grandma's house. We go to my grandma's house to celebrate Christmas with my grandma. And last year, I bought us all Christmas socks. They don't match, but they're all Christmas socks.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. And we took a picture of all of our feet, with the socks on. And Josh and Bailey had similar socks, just with the colors reversed. And then
which is his girlfriend, Bailey. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jordan and Luke, it was the same thing. Similar socks, just colors reversed. And then I got each of my kids like their own socks. And then we got matching socks. We had Santa socks. So I want to go do that again this year.
Everybody seemed to like that.
They did.
Yeah, everybody seemed to like that. Felt pretty special.
Yeah, so we're going to do that again this year.
So yeah, so that's more traditional things. And the thing is that I love about, I think instead of looking at like holidays are a tough time, which in the beginning of blended families, it's a lot more tough than you think it is look at it as great opportunities to really start something brand new. And always, right? With not just your children, but with yourselves as a married couple as well. It's hard. We get it. It is. But if you start seeing the opportunities in all these spots, you can start seeing some amazing, amazing blessings and creating some memories for further down the road. You know, starting new traditions, planning ahead, but be flexible and create different traditions for when the kids aren't there.
Or when the kids are evolving into new age groups where they don't want to do some of your traditions anymore. And that's okay. You do have to recognize, I think it's very hard as a parent to start recognizing when your kids are adults and they don't want to necessarily do the little kid stuff anymore. And you still want to because it's fun for you, especially being the only female. So.
Yeah, like Jordan this year isn't even coming to our house at all on Christmas Day. And this will be the first time ever that she's never been part of it.
And she's pregnant.
But we understand she is married and she has a ton of other things that she has to do. So that's fine, right? So now Christmas Eve has become a very important thing. We're like, okay, we're going to make sure everything happens on Christmas Eve because, you know, we're going to go to Christy's grandma's, which that's turned into a whole other thing, right? Than much more than what it did a few years back. But
we had to be flexible.
It had to be flexible, right? And but we're going to come back to our home after that and then allow Jordan and Luke to open up their gifts and stuff so then they can go the next day. And instead of arguing with them and saying, no, you need to come to our house. You can't stop by our house for a half hour and be at our... No, like it's okay. It's all right. We want to be flexible. We understand because it's not going to be the same every year as much as we want it to be. So what's probably your favorite tradition that we do? Overall, your most favorite tradition that we do?
Right now?
Yeah.
Probably over the last few years, I would say it's on the day we get our Christmas tree.
The Christmas tree?
Yeah, because we usually go pick out the wrapping paper that day.
Yep.
And then we head out and get our Christmas tree. And then
chop it down.
Chop it down. That is my favorite tradition for me. Now, the favorite tradition that the kids don't bark at. The favorite tradition I have for the kids is probably hiding their present.
That's mine.
So, but that's for the kids.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually turned out to be really a great thing. Like our kids look forward to that, especially because Christy and I plan the clues. We write out the clues. So we do those things, and the kids get older. Like we have to make them harder and harder, but we've actually made them too hard.
Yeah, they get mad.
The last couple years, like it's hard to find a balance in that. I mean, we went as far as picking out word inside of a book that they had to find the book and search the word inside the book.
Search for the page.
It was tough. Yeah, we've made them rough. We've used cell phone compasses before and put
latitude
and longitude on there for them to go and search for it, and just had a lot of fun with it. And instead of having to buy a ton more gifts that way, you just make one really special one, and it just makes it really, really fun. We did minute to win it games one time.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Where we made the kids do that stuff.
They had to do it in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Or they had to start over.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. So we want to encourage you, go out and start brand new traditions and always look outside the box of what else can you do? Don't figure that this has to be a glum time of year because it's blended families and you now have to share all this stuff. You get an opportunity to start something new.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget the whole purpose of this season. It's easy to get lost up in the coffee mugs and the sweaters and the presents and all these things that are fun. And we shouldn't take away from the fun. But ultimately, we need to remember the whole reason for this season. That is the birth of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I mean, it changes everything for our lives. The whole reason why we're here, our whole purpose in life, and the whole way we're going to live when we're not on this earth anymore. So it's going to be an amazing time. We hope your family has an amazing Christmas. And do you have anything else you want to say before we close out for today?
Yeah, so this is a new tradition that we started too. So this is like the third or the fourth year. I think it's the third year that we do a Christmas sweater. So 3 years ago, this was his first Christmas sweater that we bought. It was supposed to be an ugly Christmas sweater. It's really not ugly. And then he had a gingerbread man one last year. And then this year he got the elf one.
Yep.
So
tell everybody what you got.
I got the llama one.
Yep.
And then last year I had a Fla La 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 one.
Yep.
That's beautifully sparkly.
It's very sparkly.
And the year before I got the one with the big Santa hat that's long that has the sparkly puffs all over it and the elves and all that.
Yeah.
So, and then I had a friend give me one this year and it's glorious. It has a huge gold Christmas tree on it with like pearls, like actual like dangling from it, and an actual star that's sewn to it that flops back and forth like that.
The funny thing is, before we close out, this is super hilarious to me, is because you can tell this is why Christy is like truly an 85-year-old woman on the inside, is because most people are like, oh, it's fun to wear this ugly Christmas. No, she likes these sweaters.
I do.
She likes these Christmas sweaters. So we're going to be living in Texas in 10 years, and she's going to be wearing Christmas sweaters year round. It's going to be our way of living.
I do have a really old soul. I've always had an old soul, and I've always known that about myself. I told everybody, I'm going to be 43 next month. And I told everybody it was so amazing when I turned 40 because I felt like for the first time, like my soul and my body are starting to become one because I just am.
You have another 40 years before you catch your soul up. You're very old soul. So thank you so much for being here and have a Merry Christmas.
We love you guys.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 7.
Bye.